Hello, everybody. It's Janae Payne. I'm back in action. I'm going to do a lecture today on slavery converted into racism and hate crimes. I know the title um, is a little different, but just wait and see. So, slavery is and was consistent. So, back then, slavery started in 1619. That was the beginning of a privateer. The White Lion brought 20 enslaved African Americans ashore. And this was in Jamestown, Virginia. It started all in this time. So it didn't start just in the 1800s, 1900s, 20. It started 1619, as far as that we all can remember within research. So within research, I found an article, and it's called America's Third Reconstruction, 1619, and the Black Radical Tradition by Peniel Joseph. The part that I felt interesting about this is that it conveys a message. It's the perception of how race or authenticity or culture is put into one, and at the same time, it talks about labor. So the article refers to African Americans who were slaves, unpaid laborers. And in this narrative, it goes through Civil War used racist history as a weapon, which in all, people say that's true, and some people can say it's not true. So first, African Americans were brought to the English colony, some for a better life. They were told different things if you come this way, and a lot of times African Americans were forced. After this moment of the 1619 was the slave rebellion, the movements, and the Civil War. And the most prevalent part to express is slave rebellion. There was so many people back in the day that rebelled. And like, I don't want to be no slave. I don't want to. Why should I have to listen to you? Why did I have to entertain this? So, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to slave rebellion? Let me think. Running away, fighting, doing something that I didn't like. That's the first thing that some people might come to your head. And with all, this is true. I want to run. Slave rebellion. Slave rebellion. So in their slave rebellion, African Americans and white people spoke up. They did things in action. And within these actions came death, hurt, misconduct, more laws, more enactments. So in 1831, Nate Turner led a small army and killed white men or Caucasians and they were enslaved Virginians. So being enslaved, like people were getting tired of being enslaved. And Nate Turner, he was a preacher. He couldn't read, but he learned to adapt and to preach to people. And he negotiated and tried to get people out of harm's way. The way he did it, do we all agree or we not agree? That's up to you to decide. And moving along through history, Harriet Tubman, she brought slaves to freedom. She helped them escape. She was an anti-slave activist. She had safe houses on the Underground Railroad. I know you guys heard of that. I mean, some of you guys may be young, but you're learning it in different classes and different cultures. You're learning this. And she helped in the Civil War. She was a scout. She was a spy. She told. And she as well rescued her family. And this is precious when it talks about slavery. And I know you're wondering, like, what about the rest of your title? I'm getting there. Just wait. So, Civil War. This is a timeline that I'm going through to talk to you guys about. Slavery stood by political and economic reconstruction or transformation. In 1861 was the time when the Civil War began, and it was all over slavery. Isn't that sad? People, politicians, government officials, anybody higher up wanted that authority over somebody's life to tell them what to do and just keep them into bondage. And so the Civil War came up because they wanted to deny freedom or have freedom. So the states were fighting over that, and that's what happened during the Civil War. So to add with my title of slavery converted into racism and hate crimes. So nowadays, slavery is converted into racism and hate crimes. So oppression is what you would say. Just like in today, our society today, just this year, 19 elementary students were killed in Texas, gunned down. And these students were of different races. And they so-call this a hate crime, racial. And it's just inadvertently like it keeps happening over and over, and it goes back to slavery. Like people were getting killed, people were getting slaughtered, people were getting hung. It's the same thing over again, but in a different way. It's just a different name. It's a cover up. Just like raiding at the Capitol. This happened. This took place because of the president or votes that took place. So they're rioting over votes, mobs supporting the U.S. president. And then, when you look through, like you have research, you find different things that happens. And you're like, oh my goodness. And you just look at it and you just read. And there's more stuff when you read. So in 2015, Charleston Church shooting happened where white supremacists killed people of different races. Once again, and this was called a hate crime. This was at a black church. And this was associated with the civil rights movement. That church was historical, and this took place. Not only that, 10 black residents in upstate New York, racially motivated. That's what they call it. Black people fatality. And then a white man, 18-year-old, live stream on opened fire on customers and employees at supermarkets. And that's relating to the 10 Black residents. So, with this being said, yes, African Americans are being hurt, but as well, white people are being hurt. So, white people that were hurt in New York in 2013, as I remember, in the Union Square. There were white people robbed in Colorado, 2010. Oklahoma, 2013, 2012, 2011 in Florida. And they said, I hate white people. Again, when you reflect back, it goes all the way back to slavery. We are under a different title of humanity. It's called racism and hate crimes. And thank you.